You only need 25 basis points per quarter. You don't need any more 50s. I think that's the way the Fed will go unless we get some really bad news. And
please do not miss this. Do not miss what's coming. Watch today's whole video. I'm trying to help you here. Bitcoin and crypto markets are going to be a lot higher sooner rather than later. Now, how can I say this so confidently? I've been studying the crypto markets for 6+ years. My track record is out there. I've made one video every day updating you since right here. I told you to buy Bitcoin here, I told you to buy Bitcoin here, I told you to buy Bitcoin here. And while these videos are never financial advice, it's just information and my opinion, I think a big move is coming in this market sooner rather than later. Do not miss this. Now, let me tell you why. Think about the economy right now. Think about the economy. Most people seem to me to be bearish on the US economy. To me, most people seem bearish on the US economy. Now, I think that that's a lagging feeling. Yes, the economy actually used to be worse, but we've got some great momentum quarter over quarter. New jobs numbers are out. The Fed has pivoted. The fact is, the economy is flipping bullish in a big way and has strong momentum. Wharton School of Business finance professor Jeremy Siegel explains this here.
Although we hired 550,000 new jobs in the third quarter, interestingly enough, hours worked is virtually flat. The good news about that is that the GDP increase is going to be almost all productivity, and we're looking for third quarter GDP 2.5 to 3. That's going to be productivity. The good news about that is it was a little hotter on wages, but that's mostly productivity, so that is not inflationary. That's good news for stocks. Listen, I never thought they're going to go another 50. I think it's a series of 25. I think the long-run neutral rate, I know there was a big discussion this morning about what is that long-term rate going to be. I think it's 3.5, and I'm going to reach it probably in the second half of next year. And if you take a look at the futures market, that's pretty much what they project. And you only need 25 basis points per quarter. You don't need any more 50s. I think that's the way the Fed will go unless we get some really bad news. And the soft landing scenario keeps on getting brighter and brighter.
And we know that the Fed is cutting, whether it's 50 or 25. And we know, and was confirmed yet again today, that this is one heck of a resilient economy.
Yeah, and absolutely. And if earnings are still going up, there's no sensitive economic indicator right now that says recession. I mean, I think, the trend is your friend here. Listen, it is true. Market is 21 times forward earnings. Take out the Mag 7, you're at 18. I don't think that's expensive in the world we're in today. It's not cheap either, but it's certainly not expensive. And it doesn't mean that, that there isn't room for the market to still grow.
Now, there is an election coming up, and all over the country, pro-crypto candidates are running. 50 million plus U.S. citizens hold crypto. Data shows at least a third of them will strongly consider crypto at the polls. Coinbase has this initiative called Stand with Crypto, where you can learn who your crypto candidates are, who you should vote for when it comes to crypto. Brian Armstrong, Coinbase CEO, explains this here. A lot of pro-crypto candidates are about to get elected.
Well, I think up and down the ballot, people are looking to elect pro-crypto candidates. And what's great is that Stand with Crypto has been successful at getting over 100 candidates to actually come in and fill out questionnaires. They've created scorecards that reflects their public statements, their voting record. And I think you're right. People are looking not just at the presidential race, which has now become a factor for crypto, but they're also looking at the Senate and the House. So those are the folks that are really going to move the needle on passing legislation. And they want to see crypto advocates everywhere. What we've seen is that people are really energized by crypto. They want to elect candidates who represent their values, who want this technology to be built here in America, and frankly, people who will stand up for their right to use crypto. They've felt like they've been treated like criminals in many cases in the last few years, and that's just not acceptable in a free country like America. So I think the crypto voter is really real, and we'll see what happens in November.
The fact is, Washington is more pro-crypto now than ever before. And they're trending even more pro-crypto as time goes on. Brian Armstrong explains this change here.
About 5 or 6 years ago, we realized that crypto was getting big enough that we needed to go really engage actively in a policy effort. So I started coming out to DC 5 or 6 years ago. Started off maybe once or twice a year, got to be once a quarter or so. And at the beginning, a lot of people didn't know what crypto was. I would try to meet with them, be an educational resource. One person asked me, "Isn't this all just some kind of video game?" Now when I come to DC, it's really exciting. I mean, everybody obviously knows what crypto is at this point, and this discussion has advanced really to how do we pass clear rules, create legislation in the United States, because everybody in Congress has seen that Europe has already passed this kind of legislation, and the lack of clarity in the US has really hurt America. A lot of this stuff has gone offshore. Consumers have been harmed. So there's now a broad consensus and excitement, I would say, in the Congress to pass legislation, and that's what I get to spend most of my time doing now. Tensions are high with the election coming up. I think one of the facts that I shared with them that's really resonated the most is that 1 in 3 voters have said that they're going to consider crypto in terms of who they vote for. And so the crypto voter has become a major part of this election now. At this Stand With Crypto event I'm at, they've signed up 1.4 million people who've raised their hand and said they want to elect pro-crypto candidates. And so I think just reminding people of some of that, how big of a factor that crypto is going to be in this upcoming election, really resonated.
Now, there is so much change that can happen down ballot. Make sure you vote. But obviously, the big election is the US presidential election. And we do have one candidate that has promised the crypto community more than any presidential candidate has ever promised the crypto community before. Firing Gary Gensler on day one, a lot of people are excited about this. The problem with Gary Gensler is clear. James Angel, Georgetown's professor of financial markets and technology, explains this.
There are thousands of tokens out there, some of them quite useful, some of them complete frauds. So what we need is good cops on the beat who can allow the law-abiding citizens through and put the criminals in jail. And right now we have an SEC chair who basically views everyone as a criminal.
So Donald Trump says he will fire Gary Gensler on day one.
On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. Whoa.
Mark Cuban confirms that Kamala Harris's administration isn't interested in pursuing anything with Gary. If true, Gary Gensler's term would end mid-2025.
Can I get your reaction to this story from the Washington Reporter? There was a story, I don't know if it's true or not.
What website, Washington Post?
No, Washington Reporter. So according to some Senate sources, Kamala Harris was considering Gensler for Treasury Secretary.
I would call that bullshit.
Okay.
And what's the
Have
Washington
you asked
Reporter?
her about that, or?
I haven't asked her about any position at all, but what I was told, and look, talking to people who are like always in the same room with her, the response to me about Gary Gensler was, have you heard anybody say anything positive? That's intentional.
So it seems like either way, Gary Gensler is gone. So let's talk about that. If Trump does fire Gary Gensler on day one, what would happen?
Let's say we did see this play out where a new chair was swapped in under a new administration. What does that mean for ongoing litigation? Coinbase, for example, has been in the midst of fighting the SEC for over a year now.
Well, the SEC is like a super tanker, and it doesn't change course very quickly. That even when they've made some horrific mistakes, they don't like to admit it, and they just sort of keep on going on their old path. So I would be hopeful that a new regime at the SEC would have a more appropriate response to so-called digital assets. I'm encouraged that Vice President Harris has announced her support for digital assets, but the SEC has shown, even long before Chair Gensler, an inability to come to grips with this new technology. And one thing the SEC does not understand is a different technology requires a different technology of regulation. So, for example, taxi cabs in New York have bulletproof screens to protect the drivers from robbery. Ubers don't need bulletproof screens because they don't carry cash. So when you have a new technology, you have to rethink regulation. And that's something the SEC has been unable to do. So it isn't just the chair, it's the entire organization that needs an overhaul.
And we don't need no regulation. We don't need heavy regulation. We need fair, clear regulation. And this is what damn near everybody is starting to realize.
Basically, what we need is a way to encourage innovation, to allow people to innovate, and also at the same time make sure that people who are selling tokens tell people what's in them, that the people who are trading them aren't manipulating the prices, that the intermediaries who are handling these transactions aren't stealing your money. This is why we regulate financial services, because of a long, long history of theft and fraud and manipulation. And in the past 10 years in the crypto world, we have seen all of this, which is why a lot of people are very skeptical of the world. But the skeptics ignore the fact that this technology is very promising. We have the ability to overhaul the plumbing and the mechanics of our financial markets in ways that actually improve things for everyone. So we want to make sure that we bring in the good innovation, while at the same time we stomp out the fraud, the manipulation, the theft that we've seen. And that's why we need good, smart regulators who understand the technology, who come in with the appropriate technology, and who don't just have this, well, we'll sue you in court 5 years from now when we figure out what we want to do attitude, which is what the SEC has been doing. If even a place as slow as the European Union can come up with something like their Markets in Crypto Assets Directive, we should be able to do it too.
So, a big move is coming. Send this video to one friend, post this video on social media, and the big move will happen faster. Subscribe to Altcoin Daily for daily videos just like this. See you tomorrow.